Hello everyone, welcome on in. It's a new week here on Betting Weekly Game Bet Match, number one tennis betting podcast and YouTube channel brought to you in association with Bet Rivers, your hometown sportsbook. I am Nigel Seeley. I'm going to introduce you to the man in form, Sean Calvert, in a minute. But before I do that, please hit that subscribe button. Please hit the like. Give us a comment. Let us know your thoughts on the show. Let us know what your tips are. Let us know if you bet our 2 picks last week, because that is where we're going to start. After near misses, after retirements, after withdrawals, after injuries, after everything that's gone against us, we finally hit the jackpot last week with 2 players into the final in the tournament in Rosmalen. We had Diallo, who won the tournament at 20-1, and Zizou Bergs at 40-1. Both of them cash. Round of applause, Mr. Sean Calvert. Well done, mate. Finally, what a bit of luck.
Yeah,
we done it.
Yeah, what I said all along. You know, with the outrights, it's very high variance stuff. You can have months and, you know, whatever of things just not going right, like all the withdrawals and stuff that we had, and the retirements, and then we had a winner that wasn't on the profit and loss. So, you know, it's all been tricky, hasn't it? The first sort of 5 months or whatever, 5-6 months of the season, but then you get 2 at once. That's the kind of high variance thing that it is with outright betting. It's obviously not usual to get a 40-1 and a 20-1 both picks in the final. That's happened, I think, a couple of times. Prior, I think we did it in Borstad a couple of years ago, didn't we, as well? But yeah, it's nice that they worked out those ones the way that I thought. They were both a bit out there, the picks, because Diallo hadn't really played on grass much. Berg's not played well in recent times, but you know, I thought they both had decent chances if they played their best stuff. And Diallo took to the grass courts brilliantly. Berg's rode his luck a little bit. But quite a lot. But yeah, it's lovely to get 2 over the line and get us back in the plus figures.
Very, very nice indeed. Diallo, some player, isn't he? I mean, he's up to career high 44 in the world now.
He's got some weapons, this kid. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I like what I see for him. And a 20-1 price, a nice winner. Hopefully you're on as well. I know a lot of you have already mentioned, comments, sent some messages to us. Told us that you had a bet. Some of you shared your betting slips. If you've got any betting slips with Bet Rivers, please share them on the show. We always like to see it when people cash, and that means that our profit and loss now has gone up to a very healthy indeed, plus 14 plus units. So I'll give you the official rating, the figure at the bottom after this show, but we're now over 14 units in profit. Just shows you, as Sean said, how quickly things can change. And when Sean gets hot, he gets very, very hot. And talking of hot, the weather this week in the 2 tennis tournaments is going to be very, very hot as well. And we're going to start off with a tournament over in Germany in the build-up to Wimbledon. It's the grass court event in Halle, which sees the world number 1, Jannik Sinner, in action. He was the defending champion here. Before we go into the draw, look at the betting with Bet Rivers, Sean will tell us the trends and the weather forecast and the conditions that players would expect over in Germany.
Yeah, Halle's been quicker than Queens in recent years for me, certainly statistically and from the naked eye as well. There's a tiny bit of altitude here. It's only 123 meters. It's a little bit. Maybe that has a slight effect on the speed of things. But the stats are in the last 4 editions. That's since the break for COVID. It averages 87% holds of serve and 76.2% first serve points won. That puts it quicker than Queens. We'll talk about Queens in a minute. Tie-break matches. 61% of the matches in the last 4 editions have featured a tie-break. So that would equate to odds of 1.64 or minus 156 on tie-break in match if you're going on the last 4 editions. Set one over 10.5 games, 42% of those in the last 4 editions since COVID have gone set one overs over 10.5. That would equate to odds of 2.38 plus 138. And this is a stat. Over under 22.5 games, 71% of the matches have gone over 22.5. Wow. In the last 4 editions, which if you were betting on that, it would equate to odds of 1.41 or minus 245 overs. So I don't know whether that trend's going to continue, but you can sort of see the sort of stats it is. It's you know, a lot of holds, a lot of tie breaks, a lot of first serve points won. As far as underdogs are concerned, not particularly great. Similar to Stuttgart and Rosmalen last week, it averages 31%. And strangely, the best rounds for underdog bettors in the last 9 editions has been the semi-final and the final. 45% of the underdogs have won in those 2 rounds in the last 9 editions. And if you bet every underdog in the last 9 editions for $10, you would be minus $269.48. Now, there's some very interesting trends here. I think the one of interest to a lot of bettors will be the first one, and that's the last player to win Halle or make the final, having made the final of the French Open just prior, was Roger Federer back in 2008. So that obviously has relevance for Sinner and also Alcaraz. I'll talk about him in Queens in a bit, but yeah, certainly makes me think about the minus 138 on Jannik Sinner. Since Roger Federer last won it in 2019, the number one seed has only won this title once in the last 4 editions. Prior to that, it was pretty much dominated by Federer. He won it or got to the final pretty much every year. There's been plenty of big prize winners and finalists here. Bublik was a 40-1 winner back in 2023. Humbert, 33-1 winner 2021. And going back a little bit further, Borna Coric won this at 50-1, and Florian Mayer was a 66-1 winner of this tournament a few years ago. No qualifier. All lucky loser this century has made the final of Halle, and only one has made the semi-final in the last 11 editions. So it's not been a particularly great tournament for qualifiers. As far as the weather's concerned, as you said, Nigel, between 26 and 28 all week from Tuesday. Monday a little bit cooler, but yeah, it looks like another warm and sunny week in Germany.
Yeah, it is warm everywhere around Europe. We're having a bit of a heat wave, so no problems with the weather this week for the tennis. And as Sean said there, you want to be looking at the overs, the total 22.5, cashing pretty much regularly. And one thing I didn't notice though last week, I'm very aware now that the bookies have started moving games up on matches.
Yeah.
You know, last week, if you looked at the average match, it was 24.5.
Probably
the days of 22.5, 23.5 they're not there anymore. They've realised there's an over bias and they're definitely moving up.
Yeah, I think in Stuttgart particularly because it's so quick there. I'm not so sure about Rosmar, a little bit slower, but definitely in Stuttgart when I mentioned the stats last week, it was hugely serve dominated, tons of tie breaks, tons of overs. So yeah, they're getting wise to that, I think.
They are getting wise. Keep an eye on those odds with Bet Rivers. Head across to the Bet Rivers website or the app. You'll be able to see all the prices, and the action starts tomorrow early. It's around about 5 a.m. start. So your best bet, as I keep saying on Sunday, is to get on these plays tonight. And obviously with Sean's way he's going at the moment, the winner and a runner-up last week on the outright market, I'm sure that these bets will be very, very heavily supported. Let's have a look at the draw. The all-important draw over in Halle. Number one seed, Jannik Sinner, as we touched on, he's in the top half of the draw, being the number one seed. No bias this week in the 500. They all have to earn their right to round number 2. Sinner will play Thomas Mahak. Rublev will play Kachanov if it goes to seeding. Cerundolo will play Medvedev. Humbert will play Zverev. Obviously, there's some dangerous opponents. Nothing always goes according to plan. Some difficult matches. Hurkacz against Mahak. Mahak is an interesting one. Sinner starts off against Hanfman, a local player. Might give him some problems. And Kachanov plays Zizou Bergs. There's some good first round matches here, and all those seeds will got work to do. Here's the odds. Jannik Sinner, as Sean said there, is a very, very heavy favourite. Minus 138 to win this tournament. This is his first match since he had those 3 championship points in the French Open final on Philippe Chatrier court, and he's now at Halle as a minus 138 favourite. He could win it, but at those prices, you have to be very, very brave, and you're not going to get much money back. Alexander Zverev, beaten in the final this weekend over in Stuttgart, beaten by Taylor Fritz. He's 4-1. Medvedev, who's having a shocking time at the moment, 10-1. Hurkacz had back problems last week, had to pull out 16-1. Bublik, he's won this tournament before. He won it in 2023. If he wins his match, he sets up a very eagerly anticipated clash with Sinner in round number 2, 22-1. Felix Auger-Aliassime, 22-1. Rublev at 25. João Fonseca, what's he going to be like on the grass? 25-1. Tsitsipas 28. Ugo Humbert 28. Kachanov 33. And then we go into 40-1 bar those players. Obviously, Sinner is the minus money favourite. And whenever you get a minus money favourite in a draw, my first thing is to go straight to the bottom half and try to find someone who can get to the final as an each way bet. I don't know if that's in your way of thinking here, Sean.
It often is, and it was again here, but I can't settle on anybody in the bottom half of the draw. I mean, if you look at it, Cerundolo I'll talk about in a minute. Tsitsipas on grass, no, not for me. I mean, I know Ivanisevic is in his camp now, but he's not playing for him. Tsitsipas is going to have to do it himself, and on past history, it doesn't look very likely. Medvedev's not exactly in a good space at the minute. I mean, I don't know whether you saw his match against Opelka last week. He just donated it to Opelka. I think he hit 3 or 4 double faults in the second set tie break. think he was 4-1 up, and he either 3 or 4 double faults. One of them was on match point. Donated it away to Opelka. Humbert I'll talk about in a minute. Fonseca we don't know about on grass. Gaboli not for me on grass. I'm struggling to see. I don't, as I've said before, I don't really rate Zverev on grass particularly highly, but I'm not sure who's going to beat him in that bottom half of the.
I looked at it, Sean, and I know the professional play here is the bet. I think it's a bit of a schneid with the half the odds 1-2 with the place, but I just thought Zverev each way was a bet to nothing.
Yeah, I mean, it sort of grates me to take Zverev on a grass court at that sort of price. I have got one in the top half that I like, incidentally, but on the bottom half, I mean, you could take a punt on somebody that could catch fire, like a Quentin Halys. He's certainly got the weapons to do it. Shapovalov, maybe if he has a great week. Struff, we backed him last week. I'm not sure he's got the legs anymore to go the full distance. Michelsen could be interesting, but there's not one that I think in that bottom half that I just think, yeah, he's worth a punt. I'm going to go in the top half of the draw. I think this is a tricky one for Sinner. As I've said, the history is very much against him. No player, the last player to win Halle to make the final, having made the final of the French, was Federer back in 2008. I just think the way he lost that French as well, from that winning position, 1.01 in play, 3 match points. I know he's got a very level-headed guy. He probably won't affect him that much, but I still think it's a tall order to come here, shake all that off, and go on and win it at minus 138. His first, he's got Hanfman as his qualifier. Did you say?
Yeah.
He should be winning that really. But I mean, his second match could well be and probably will be Bublik. You've also got Hurkacz and Mahatch in that section. Hurkacz wasn't fit last week. In all honesty, he hasn't looked totally fit since this time last year, roughly when he did his knee at Wimbledon. He hasn't looked fully fit since then. But last week was a back issue. Maybe a few days off. That will get him right again. He's certainly one that could cause problems for Sinner. But for me, Q2 is the place to look for a little bit of value. Hope that one of the guys that I've just mentioned, maybe Bublik, maybe Hurkacz, maybe Mahatch, maybe one of those can take down Jannik Sinner, and our guy can sneak through to the semi-finals. And that man for me is Felix Auger-Aliassime at 22-1. He played well in Stuttgart on the grass. He hasn't played too much tennis lately. He had a pretty awful clay season. Played well in Stuttgart, but Fritz was too good. I mean, Fritz played really, really well last week in Stuttgart. Fritz was too much for him in the semi-finals there, but those 3 or 4 matches will certainly have helped Felix. He's got a very good record here, Felix, actually. He's played 7 completed matches. He did retire in one of them, but he's 5-2 win-loss here in completed matches, and his service points won and return points won totally was 111. 91% holds, 82% first serve points won, and importantly as well, 38% return points won. So it's not just been all about the serving. His all-round game here has been excellent. I'm not sure who his qualifier is, actually. I haven't seen the draw.
I've got it here. Laszlo Jiri.
Okay, so
perfect.
He shouldn't be losing to Laszlo Jiri. And then he'll have either an extremely fatigued Zizou Bergs or Khachanov, who I'm not, I've mentioned many times, I'm not keen on him on grass at all. That's a winnable match. So 2 very winnable matches for him. Then he might have Rublev. His career series with Rublev has been, it's gone Rublev's way, but they've all been really, really close matches. A lot of them have been final set tie breaks, final set 7-5. They've never played on grass, and for me, grass would tip the balance just slightly in Felix's favour. If he played Rublev, which he probably would. And then, as I say, you're kind of going to have to hope that somebody can take care of Sinner, or maybe Felix can take care of him. It's not beyond the realms of possibility. Sinner's not a machine. He could come here, a little bit down or whatever, and obviously hasn't played a grass match. Do
you know what the head-to-head is between the 2 of them, Sinner and Felix?
I don't.
3-0 to Felix.
Oh, there you go. I didn't know that, but
yeah, one of them was he was a walkover, so he won the 2. But he's won. If they play 3 times, he's won them all. One of them's a walkover. 2 of he's won.
Well, there you go.
He won 6-1, 6-2 in Madrid.
How long ago was this, though?
2022, and he won in 2022 in Cincinnati, and he beat him in Madrid again in 2024 to walk over in the quarterfinal. But
there you are.
3-0 head-to-head.
Maybe one of those two things could happen. Felix to either beat him himself or one of the other guys that I've mentioned to beat Sinner. I think that's the way to play this. I think that's the value for me. I think Felix has got a realistic chance of making the final in this tournament. I can't decide on anybody in the bottom half that I feel that way about. So each way for Felix there, 22-1. Didn't realise he had that great record against Sinner, but yeah, I'll take it.
Half the odds 1-2 with Bet Rivers. You get 11-1 about Felix making the final. Sinner -138. As we see, this is a big transition period to come from clay to grass. Wimbledon a couple of weeks away. A few matches under your belt. They're not going to go all out. -138, Jannik Sinner. Although he won it last year, but it does look a very short price.
He didn't make the French Open final last year, did he?
No, and that's got to take something out of him. I don't care what you say. People are still talking about that match. They're questioning him. It's going to take a little bit of time to heal those wounds from Paris. Let's move on to some matches. Now, you've highlighted a few matches for us today. For tomorrow over in Halle. Obviously, if you do download the Bet Rivers app and you place a bet on one of these matches or whatever match you want to place a bet on, you can watch it. You can live stream it. We've got the right to live stream it on your tablet, your mobile device, on the Bet Rivers app. Now, the first match we are going to discuss is Ugo Humbert up against Denis Shapovalov. And Ugo Humbert is -182. Denis Shapovalov +145. Spread 2.5. Total again. Look how high they are. 24.5. The days of 22.5 are long gone in men's grass court tennis. These two have got some good data to go on. They've met 5 times previously. 3 wins to 2 to Denis Shapovalov. I watched Denis Shapovalov last week against Rinderknech in Stuttgart. It was absolutely diabolical.
He was.
He's having a bad run. Humbert comes here after the semi-final against Diallo. He's had injury concerns. But he's every favourite here. Shapovalov has to get better than what he did in that match against Rinderknech. But Bet Rivers are the best price for Denis Shapovalov at +145, and there is a little bit of money coming for the Canadian here.
Yeah, this is a awful price on Ugo Humbert. -182. Shocking price. I mean, for a start off, he looked to be struggling physically. Well, he was struggling physically against Diallo yesterday in Rosmalen. He had a quite a lengthy medical timeout for what looked like a back issue. He was face down on the floor for several minutes, being worked on by the physio. Didn't look like he was moving particularly well towards the latter stages of that match that he lost against Diallo. So that's the first thing that makes me worried about -182 if I was betting him, which obviously I'm not. There's numerous other reasons. Humbert's got a worse record against fellow left-handers. Both these are left-handers, of course. He's got a worse record against fellow left-handers than he has against right-handers at main level. He's only got a 50% win rate, Humbert, against left-handers, compared to 56% against right-handers. If we look at his statistics at main level against left-handers, as I say, 50% win rate. His service points won and return points won total of just 99.7. Shapovalov against fellow left-handers, slightly better win rate, 51%, and a service points won and return points won total of 100.4. So Shapo has been slightly better against fellow lefties than Humbert has. And if you look at what Humbert's done on grass against left-handers, it's really not good. You'll remember one of the matches that he lost against a lefty.
Yes, I do.
On grass.
Queen's, a couple of years ago.
Yes, lost to Ryan Peniston at Queen's. He's also lost on grass to Thiago Monteiro and Adrian Manarino on grass. The only lefties he's ever beaten on grass in his entire career are Federico Del Bonis, the Argentinian clay courter with one of the highest ball tosses in history, and Guys Brouwer, the Dutch player. Those are his only 2 wins on grass against left-handers. So clearly there's an issue with Humbert against lefties, and certainly on grass. He should never be losing to Peniston, Monteiro, and Manarino was decent on grass in his day, but Peniston and Monteiro shouldn't be losing to them really on grass. The head-to-head favours Shapovalov as well. Service points won and return points won totals 98.6 Humbert, 101.4 Shapovalov. Shapovalov winning 58% on second serve in this matchup against 48.5% for Humbert. So he's been better at the back of the court. Shapo's wins have all come on clay. I accept that Humbert's not as good on clay. Shapo's not great on clay, if we're being honest. But we've seen, I've mentioned that Humbert does not have a good record against lefties on grass, so the grass may not be that much of an advantage. Chapo's perfectly capable on grass. It's all in his head, really. I mean, he needs to have had a serious word with himself, or somebody needs to have had a word with him after that Stuttgart display, which was effectively a tank in the final set against Rinderknecht. You would think that he'd be coming out here feeling like he's got a bit of a point to prove after that display. He will also have had a lot more time to prepare after that early exit in Stuttgart. It's obviously not far to Halle. Humbert's got a rush, obviously, from Rosmalen over there to Halle. So all told, it's a dreadful price on Humbert. So plus 145 Shapovalov. It comes with its risks because it's Chapo, but I'm happy to take it.
Yeah, I don't think that match is actually tomorrow. The order
Probably
plays
won't be,
out.
no.
I think you've got an extra day. You've got an extra day to place this. So, but you want to get it on early because I do think the plus 145 will probably go. So Shapovalov is our first official player of the week to be Ugo Humbert at plus 145. We move on to our next match, which again is not tomorrow. It's again on Tuesday. It's the match between Francisco Cerundolo and Alex Michelsen. Pretty much a picker match actually here. Cerundolo a narrow favourite at Bet Rivers at minus 115. Michelsen is minus 108. And the games, again, high, 23.5, a little bit lower than the previous match. But again, the traditional 22.5, not many of them around. So 23.5 the games here. No head-to-head record between the two. It's the first time they've met. But since this match has come out and since Bet Rivers have put the lines up, lots of money for the American. Alex Michelsen has been bet heavily in this match. Surprisingly, really, because his form coming in isn't that great. He's lost 4 of his last 5 matches. And he got beaten around the 16 by the youngster, Engel, the German Enders, Justin Engel, the 17-year-old, he got beat there. Cerundolo, hasn't played since the French Open, shocking defeat against Diallo, but we've seen Diallo go on and do big things, so that might not have been as bad a result as we may have anticipated with the emergence of the Canadian Diallo. What do you think of this one? It's a pick 'em bet with Bet Rivers. They can't split them. You've obviously got an angle in.
Yeah, I think Michelsen is decent here. He was slightly bigger than this when I looked at this before I had to spend most of the day standing in a field in Benfleet. So the odds have...
He was watching his kids play football. You don't just go down a field in Benfleet and stand there for 3 hours.
I like to have a stand.
There was a reason for you standing in the field.
There was a reason for me standing in the field in Benfleet, watching Lehecka.
You're not a scarecrow. You're not scared.
No, I could find fields a bit more local than that as it happens. But yeah, so the prices have moved a little bit since I looked at this a few hours ago. Yeah, I mean, Michelsen's a decent price here based on the grass stats. If you look at the all-time grass main level numbers, Cerundolo 47% win rate and a service points won and return points won of 97. Michelsen 56% win rate and his total is 102. So a decent advantage for Michelsen. Michelsen holds serve 87% of the time on grass against 75% for Cerundolo. Cerundolo did win Eastbourne in 2023, but he was very, very fortunate to do so. He should never have beaten Mackenzie McDonald. McDonald produced one of the chokes of all time, actually. He was 6-2, 4-1 up in that match, McDonald, and then, as McDonald tends to do on a regular basis, he choked it heavily. Cerundolo ended up winning that, and then he played Tommy Paul in the final, and Tommy Paul fell over and injured himself. So one of the luckier winners of recent times, that Cerundolo winning Eastbourne in 2023 is last year he lost all 4 grass court matches that he played. Conditions are quick, as I've said, in Halle. It would favour the type of player that Michelsen is. I would like. I don't know if this match is tomorrow. I'm not sure. I would like it to.
It's Tuesday.
Right. Okay. We haven't seen the schedule yet. I'd like it to be on one of the smaller courts because that was one of the things that Cerundolo complained about when he lost to Diallo. He said he didn't have enough room to kind of manoeuvre on one of the smaller courts. That would be a similar situation here against the big serving Michelsen, who holds 87% of the time. So yeah, I'd prefer an outside court, but we'll see. I mean, a lot of this depends on Cerundolo's attitude. He has played a ton of tennis this year. Very, very long clay spell. How well is he prepared for this? If it's the same as he prepared last year for the grass and how he looked on the grass last year, then the answer to that is not very well. Michelsen's played his couple of matches in Stuttgart already. I mean, he lost to Engel, but Engel was very, very good last week. Very good prospect, Engel. He's only 17. Played really, really well. He's got some good weapons, Engel. It's not a terrible loss for Michelsen. It's not ideal, but he has had a couple of matches. I think he's still playing the doubles. I think he's got to the doubles final in Stuttgart as well. Michelsen. So he certainly had plenty of grass court tennis in recent days. So yeah, I can see why the money's come for Michelsen here. I'm happy to take him, all things considered, as a slight underdog.
So there's 2 bets for you. We're going to go with Michelsen there to beat Cerundolo in a pick-em match. And remember, both of these matches are tomorrow. Our next match we are going to discuss is actually... Sorry, this is tomorrow. The other one's on Tuesday. This one is tomorrow. It's 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Stefanos Tsitsipas up against Luciano Darderi. -$4 is the price you're going to get for Stefanos Tsitsipas. Darderi is $3, 2.5 the spread. And this is a traditional 22.5. Not surprising when you consider that he's such a heavy favourite, Tsitsipas here. You said that Tsitsipas is a player that you can't trust him on a grass court, but he's up against an opponent in Darderi. He doesn't have any grass court history, no record. He's 3-6 in his career. Been really poor in his match. He only played 1 match on grass, and he was beaten by Jiri in the best in over 3 sets. Come in losing his last 3 matches. So Tsitsipas hasn't played since that shock defeat in the French Open against Gigante. So I wouldn't bet him at -$4, but I'd be very surprised if Darderi can hurt him.
I don't think Darderi will win the match, but you do get 1,000% with Darderi most times. And for me, the matches I've seen him play on grass have been pretty decent. I'll go through the stats in a minute. I don't think he's looked out of place at all on grass. Some clay courts just don't like it. For me, Darderi's not been one of those. He was a set and a break up last week against Jiri in Rosmalen. Just couldn't finish it off. He went 5 sets with Musetti at Wimbledon last year when Musetti made the semi-finals. He was very, very close to beating Lennard Struff here in Halle last year. Ended up losing 7-6 in the third. Several tie breaks in that one. He was very close to beating Struff. So in main level grass tournaments, Darderi, 5 of his 7 opening sets have gone over 10.5 games in set 1. His serving stats are very good. He wins 74% on first serve on grass, Darderi. Tsitsipas only wins 78%, so I say only. 78% is very good, obviously, but it's not that far ahead of the 74% that Darderi wins on his first serve. If you look at what he's done in Halle, Darderi, he held serve 90% of the time against Struff last year, winning 82% on first serve. I know Struff's not a great returner on grass, but neither is Tsitsipas. And if we look at what Tsitsipas has done, 9 of his last 15 opening sets on grass have gone to a tiebreak. Not just over 10.5, but the full tiebreak. So 60% of the time, his opening set has gone to a breaker, which would equate to odds of -150 or 1.67 that the opening set goes to a tiebreak. You'll certainly get bigger than that here. I haven't seen the recent odds since I looked this morning. And if you look at what Tsitsipas does here in Halle, he only breaks serve 6.8% of the time, which is dreadful. So for me, if you're betting in this one, I think this is a one that you wouldn't necessarily think about as a set 1 overs probably, but I think set 1 over 10.5 games at +150, or that's what it was earlier, is definitely the way to go. Tsitsipas on grass, he's being coached now by Ivan Izevich. Maybe Goran will give him, some insights into doing things differently. But he certainly needs something on, because Tsitsipas on grass is not good.
Yeah, so over 10.5, set 1 is our angle in Tsitsipas Darderi. You can move the toggle on the BetRivers website to 9.5. You can go up to 12.5 if you want to play the tiebreak. And the stats are overwhelmingly in favour of the over 10.5 here in this tournament. And let's move on to our final match, which is an absolute 50-50 call. Jan-Lennard Struff is -112. Lorenzo Sonego is -112. Total 25.5, very, very, very high. You need 2 tie breaks. You need a third set to cash. They have met twice before, 1 win apiece. In Madrid, Struff won 6-3, 6-1 in 2023. In Stuttgart, on the grass, in quick conditions, Sonego won 7-6, 7-6 on the grass. It's a pick-em game. 2 tie breaks on the grass, the 2 times we played. Big servers. Halle's played Sonego played Halle, in Stuttgart in round 1. He lost that. It was a tight match, but he's lost 4 on the trot now. And Struff had a big win against Arnaldi. Couldn't perform it against Lehecka. But this is a pick and match. We got to be heavily involved in tie breaks here or over. Well, first overs again.
Yeah, same thing. I'll just quickly go through the stats. I mean, this one is much more obvious, a sort of tie break overs match than the last one. But the stats are quite overwhelming, if you like. On that grass meeting that they had in Stuttgart, Both guys held serve 100% of the time, and return points won were 26% and 24% respectively. So it doesn't get any more serve dominated than that. On other things that they've done on grass, Sonego has held serve 91% of the time in Halle. Struff's held serve 84% of the time in Halle. He really struggled here the early part of his career. Struff, he used to lose in the first round every year. Certainly been better in recent years. And both men only win 31% of return points at this tournament. If we look at what these guys have done at main level on grass in their last 10 matches, again, it's a similar story. Sonego only wins 31.7% of return points, breaking serve just 9.4% of the time. Struff, very similar, 32.6% return points won, only breaks serve 11.8% of the time. So, set one tiebreak here, plus 165 with Bet Rivers, I think is the price, or it certainly was earlier. That is the way to go in that one, I feel. Just a lean for that one. It's it looks like it's going to be massively serve dominated. A tiebreak looks hugely likely there.
Yeah, 2 tiebreaks in their previous match on glass, 7-6, 7-6, and we expect more of the same when Struff takes on Sonego. And all these matches are available on the BetRivers website. There's about 30 different markets on all the matches this week in Halle over in Germany. And it is one of 2 tournaments this week. The other one is at both 500s. They've both got big players in, and there's similar kind of betting angles in these. We've got Jannik Sinner as a heavy favourite in Germany. And over in London, where we have the Queen's Club tournament, it's the HSB Championship, formerly known as the Stella Artois tournament, I love to go into, and they were the best sponsors in the world. Not so sure now about HSBC, but we'll both be there tomorrow, Sean. We'll both be there on the Instagram account at Because We Win. You'll be able to see us over there, Sean. We technically there was a void bet on the Pims, but I'm sure we'll have some little better angles to find out where we can have a little Pims together. But you'll be able to follow us on our socials at Because We Win, so you'll be able to see us tomorrow. Let's find out who we'll be cheering for that week before we go into the draw and we look at the odds with Bet Rivers. The trends here, again, another hot tournament. The temperature looks really good out of the park next week.
Yeah, I mean, we're a little bit guessing here how this is going to play, because the courts have already been played on for a week by the WTA event that was held for the first time this year last week. So it's gonna be more like a second week at Wimbledon sort of grass court, rather than the sort of the slick, fresh, newly manicured lawns that it normally is at Queen's Club. It should make it higher bouncing a bit. The grass has been worn away a bit by the WTA players. Should make it easier to play on, really, rather than the slick, fresh, low bouncing grass. It's not ideal for me. I like to try and find players that would struggle in those conditions. I think the players will find it a bit easier to play on now that grass has been trampled on for a week. In any case, it seemed a lot slower in recent years, Queens, than it used to be. The last 3 editions of this tournament, just 83% holds the serve. 74% first serve points won. That puts it roughly the same as Rosmalen, which is very much a sort of medium-paced grass event. They all use Slazenger balls. This grass swing, the ATP's made a big thing, hasn't it, about how they're trying to standardise the use of balls across certain swings of the tour now. I'm not sure whether that has any bearing on it, but I mean, as I said, the stats, they really show a tournament that was quick and now is slower. Tiebreak matches just 36% in the last 3 editions of this tournament. Over under 22.5 games, it's actually 51% have gone under 22.5 games in the last 3 editions. Over 10.5 games in set 1, just 23% of the matches have gone over 10.5 in set 1. That would equate to odds of 4.35. Plus 335 if you want to bet over 10.5 games in set 1. I would certainly be much more keen to do that in Halle than at Queen's Club these days. As far as underdog winners are concerned, it averages 32%, pretty much average, really, that sort of figure. The best round for underdog bettors is round 2 and the semi-finals, both of which come out at 36%. And if you bet every underdog in the last 9 editions for a $10 stake, you would be up $223.80 $1.28. Now, the trends are, there's another very interesting one here, which is similar to the one I mentioned in Halle's. No player since Rafael Nadal in 2008 has won Roland Garros and Queens the same season, which is something that obviously Alcaraz is trying to do. If we look at the finalists since COVID, it's not your big hitters. Tommy Paul, Lorenzo Musetti, Alcaraz, Alex de Minaur, Filip Krajinovic, Cam Norrie, and Berrettini. Only Berrettini out of those you would class as a big server, big power player. The rest of them, not so much. So it kind of suggests that it's getting a bit slower. The number one seed has won it 6 times in the last 11 editions. And we're going to get our annual mention for Scott Draper here. Feliciano Lopez is the only unseeded winner here since Scott Draper in 1988.
No, I've got Scott Draper on the head now.
Sorry,
Jack Draper's in the bet.
I'm about to talk about Draper as well. So
I've got to take Scott Draper. Scott Draper. Okay, let's have a look at the draw. Alcaraz is the number one seed and the tournament favourite. Very kind of similar kind of betting as the tournament we just spoke about in Halle. He's the number one seed. In the top half of the draw, he has Ben Shelton, he has Holger Rune and Jakub Mensik. In the bottom half of the draw, we have Alex de Minaur, we have Taylor Fritz, Francis Tiafoe and Jack Draper. Obviously, there's some big servers and players. Pelka's a big server. You've got Mpechi Perregard is in. You've got Diallo, just won the tournament. Will he come there? He's got up against Billy Harris, the British guy, in a wild card in round number 1. Lehecka's in there as well. So there are some dangerous opponents. But really, the market is dominated by those front two. Let's have a look at the odds. Carlos Alcaraz is minus 120. Sean told you the stats there. He has won it before in 2023, as Sean touched on, but it's very rare that someone wins Roland Garros and then comes and wins here at the Queen's Club. Alcaraz minus 120. Jack Draper, 333.
Draper is going to be bigger than that. Sorry, mate. Draper will be bigger than plus 333.
You think so?
Yeah.
Are you telling me that John made a mistake? On the odds there?
Not so much a mistake. It's probably taking it from a certain place which isn't in line with the rest of the market.
Okay, so plus the 333, we reckon it might be a little bit bigger than that. Alex de Minaur 12, Taylor Fritz 12, Ben Shelton 16, Holger Rune 16, Jakub Mensik 25, Jiri Lehecka 28, Nakashima 40, Francis Tiafoe 40, and then we go into 50 to 1 bar. Looking at the draw, I think the top half is much tougher. Alcaraz, Shelton's playing well. Mensik's a big, massive serve, very hard. He's for serving, so that's a very, very good. His returning game isn't great, but he's relies so big on his big serve. I think the top half's much tougher than the bottom half. Yeah,
I agree with you. Let me just find the right section here. Yeah, I think it's much harder. I think Alcaraz, those trends they're there for a reason, and it's not easy to win the French Open, particularly the way he did it. Alcaraz, that monumental effort to just come back a couple of weeks later and shake it off and come and win a tournament on grass. It's not that easy to do, as it's been proven years and years. It's been incredibly difficult. No one's done it really since obviously 2008, a long time ago now. And he's got some tough matches. He's got Davidovich Fokina in the first round. Davidovich Fokina's just got married actually yesterday, I believe. So I'm not sure he'll be quite on the money either. Jordan Thompson, we know, is good on grass. Opelka, if he finds his serve, is difficult. Shelton, could be a tricky hurdle. Holger Rune can play on grass. As you said, Mensik, if he finds his kind of level on grass, he's very inexperienced on grass, Mensik. But the fact that this is a second week of a grass court tournament, you won't get so many of those really low bounces, and that a lot of the slipperiness. But that might make the movement a little bit easier for someone like Mensik that's not really used to playing on grass. But yeah, I think that top half is much harder than the bottom half. I think for me, the bet that I'm going to have here, which is why I mentioned the odds on Draper, I think you have to take Jack Draper here, or I certainly am. He's going to be about 5 to 1, maybe slightly less, 4.5 or 5 to 1 is what I'm seeing on the sort of general market here. And, if you look at the levels of how they're going to approach this tournament, Draper, enthusiasm, if you like, motivation, call it what you like, you would think Draper will be much, much higher than Alcaraz. Look at his odds there. He's the second favourite to win this tournament. Everything's gone great for him this season. I wouldn't worry about what he's done on the clay. Won Stuttgart last year, got to the quarterfinals here, lost to Tommy Paul. grass is a great surface for Jack Draper. He's very, very difficult to play on most surfaces now, but grass in particular with that lefty serve. I think he's a very good bet to win this tournament. If you look at who he's got to play against, Brooksby in the first round, who he's 3-0 against. Who else has he got? Popyrin maybe in the second round. I've talked about Popyrin before, all at sea on grass. TFO maybe could be quite tricky, but TFO's got a pretty awful record here. Fritz would be the obvious guy as far as I can see, that the obvious one that could be a problem, but he's just won Stuttgart. What's he really got left in the tank for this week? De Minaur, I'll talk about him in a minute. Possible, but Draper's beaten all these guys recently. He's beaten Fritz, beaten De Minaur, beaten TFO. It just looks a very, very good draw for Jack Draper. I think he's highly likely to get to the final from this section.
I like the each-way double. The Schneider each-way double. Jack Draper and Zverev against the odds-on favourites. I mean, it's a Schneider each-way double, but I quite like it. I like the Jack Draper Zverev double. I think that's where I'm going to be going here. Yeah, I mean, his draw. You can't see him not getting to the semi-finals, but and then runs into Fritz. But as you say, Fritz could be absolutely exhausted. And then, and
he's beaten Fritz the last few times anyway.
Yeah, Draper is the bet for us. We've got plus 333 on the graphic, but we reckon that when Bet Rivers come up a little bit later on today, there'll be a bigger price than that. So around about 4.5 plus 4.50, $5, something like that. That is where we are looking for that. John is now justifying himself in the chat why he's got plus 330. We've criticised him, and he's
I didn't criticise him. I just said that.
No, I did. He's now justifying himself in the group chat. Anyway, well, I will deal with him after. We have one match. We've only got one match we want to discuss. But I thought we might have about 4 or 5 matches, and so we can have a little betting interest when we're there. Till we've only got one match. We don't know the order to play yet. The order to play hasn't come out. A bit late. The order to play hasn't come out. And the match, I'm looking around at the website. I can't see anything. So we don't know the order to play yet, but we do have one match for tomorrow, and it is a match between Alex de Minaur up against Lehecka. De Minaur is a decent favourite here, minus 195, Lehecka plus 155, 2.5 the spread, 23.5 the total. Was met once before the Davis Cup in 23, and de Minaur won a very close match. The match totals come in there at 35 games across the best of 3 sets. De Minaur hasn't played since he got beat by Bublik in the French Open, and Lehecka done all right last week. A couple of good wins in Stuttgart before he ran into Ben Shelton, who I thought played really well actually in Stuttgart, and he got beat by Ben Shelton in the quarterfinals. Who's now Ben Shelton is up to a top 10 player for the first time in his career. I think you can go with Lehecka, aren't you?
In some way, yeah. I mean, Lehecka, again, like Medvedev, in fact, even worse than Medvedev, Lehecka completely donated that match to Ben Shelton. Looked very good in his first couple of rounds, Lehecka. We talked about Lehecka doing this numerous occasions. He can look $1 million, and then when things start to go wrong, the wheels do come off all too easily. And he was fine against Ben Shelton up until he got to 4-5. Excuse me, in each set. He got to 4-5, and then in the first set he threw in 2 double faults in that 4-5 game to get broken, and in the second set he threw in 4 double faults to basically hand it to Ben Shelton. I mean, Lehecka does struggle against big servers. I think he panics when he gets to that stage, that 4-5 stage, when he suddenly thinks, I've got a hold here. He certainly did it against Shelton. It was close, and he just donated it to Ben, which great for him. But it's something that Lehecka does need to work on for me. Is the mental side of his game, the mental strength. It's not there for me. And if we're looking at the only time that he played against de Minaur, again, we're talking about choking. He was 6-4, 5-3 up, Lehecka, in that match in the Davis Cup against de Minaur in Doha. That's their only career meeting, and he let it go, which is something that has it's happened numerous times in his career. It's not a one-off. It does happen a bit too regularly for me for Lehecka. Because if you look at their grass court records, there's not that much in it. De Minaur 65% win rate on grass at main level, service points won and return points won, total of 105. Lehecka 54% win rate and a total of 103, so very similar. Lehecka's held serve 88% of the time in his career on grass, and his last 10 matches on grass, he's held serve 91% of the time. So what I'm looking for Lehecka, I don't trust him to win the match. If you're talking about mental strength, I would put Minaur quite a few rungs ahead of Lehecka if it got tight, which I expect this will be. Minaur's not played since the French Open. Absolutely bizarre kind of result there. 2 sets up against Bublik and lost in 5. Talked about burnout. The tour grinds got to him and needs a rest. He's probably had that now, but he's obviously lacking matches. He might well win this match in the end. He'll probably grind Lehecka down, but I think the bet here is to kind of replicate what happened when they last met, which was Lehecka was all over him until it came to the crunch. We don't need that with this bet. Lehecka's only got to win the opening set, which is plus 135 for Bet Rivers, given the fact that Minaur hasn't played for a few weeks. Lehecka's played on grass. He's got his grass shoes on, so to speak. So, yeah, those are the odds that I like the most in the matches of Queen's Club.
Yeah, the order play's not out. Head across to the Bet Rivers website, and as I said at the top of the show, if you want to watch any of these matches just by placing a wager, you'll be entitled to live stream any of these matches that you want to watch in the comfort of your own home. We do not know the order of play. The one thing we do know, it will be early start, around about 5:30, 6 o'clock local time. I think 5 o'clock local time, Eastern time tomorrow. So make sure you get involved early. Obviously, myself and Sean will be there at Queen's Club tomorrow. You'll be able to follow us at Because We Win on our socials, on Instagram and on X. 14.67. That looks good. That looks good. Nice little price. 14.67. That's what we like to see. So we're nice in profit. Nicely done heading into Wimbledon. And what would be really nice if we get 10,000 subscribers by the end of Wimbledon. That was our target. That's what we want to do. And with your help by watching the show, hit that subscribe button and you will join us, the biggest growing, the fastest growing sports betting YouTube channel here at Betting Weekly Studios. So hit that subscribe button. We want 10,000 subscribers before Wimbledon or during Wimbledon to be absolutely brilliant. And we're closing in on that target. And with your help, we can do it. Loads of content coming your way. The World Club Championship is on Betting Weekly Live. Every day this week, we'll be looking at the big football tournament that's going on stateside in the build-up to the next summer's World Cup. We went into the World Cup this time next year. We have Betting Weekly Tennis Live as well. All the in-play from all the tennis in-play gang. And stateside, we have the MLB and also the NBA covered on our American shows, hosted by Doug Kazarian and all his team of fantastic handicappers across in America. That's it for this week. Sean, before I go, give us a little recap of what our bets are, our official plays.
Yeah, official plays in Queen's Club, just a couple of bets there. Jiri Lehecka to win the opening set, plus 135. We bet Rivers against Minaur, and my outright pick will be Jack Draper. He should be about 5-1, 9-2. That'll be, let's say 9-2. So you definitely get 9-2. You'll probably get 5-1 as well. Obviously, we're guessing a little bit until the Bet Rivers odds come out, but that's roughly where it'll be. And then Halle, I need to get my little bit of paper back up there. I can't be expected to remember something I spoke about 5 minutes ago. The outright bet there was Felix, wasn't it? Felix Auger alias Siem, each way 22-1, I believe he was. And the match bets were Denis Shapovalov plus 145 to beat Ugo Humbert, and Michelsen, I think he was around about 1.93 minus 108-ish, something like that, to beat Francisco Cerundolo. Those are the official plays.
There's a lot to be getting on with. Remember, the action is across 2 days, Monday and Tuesday. Majority of those matches are Halle on Tuesday. It's the one match starting on Monday, but always make sure you check the order of play with Bet Rivers and waiting for the draw to come out on the Queen's Cup. But as I say, follow us tomorrow at Because We Win. We'll be there, try and give you some in-play, have a little bet, and I'll meet you at the Pims Bar, Sean, around about 12:30 tomorrow, okay?
Okay, see what I can do.
See you then. Take care.